This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
Kia ora, and welcome to Diversity Dispatch, your local queer radio show. We're your hosts, Ricky
and Percy, and we're here to bring you the latest in Dunedin queer news, community projects, events, and more.
Sit back, relax, and tune into our fortnightly show hosted on OAR FM.
Let's get started.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of Diversity Dispatch. You're joined by your hosts, Ricky
and Percy.
And Cherri.
Yeah, this part too. How'd you get in here?
Because I was always here, remember?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. How silly of me. Oh, my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Silly, forgetful Ricky.
Yeah. And lest we forget the Hat Man in the corner.
Oh,
yes,
Hat
yes.
Man. Yep.
The secret fourth member.
Yeah. Did he drive you here?
No, I drove him here.
Hatman doesn't have a license. Hatman is gay and can't drive.
I'm gay and can drive. Thank
okay.
you. Well, I'm bi.
Am I the Hat Man? Is that me? No, we're just friends.
Maybe the Hatman was the friends we met along the way. You know?
What is it?
treasure.
Twincest?
Oh. I think we might have to bleep that one out.
Boyfriend twins, I mean.
That's it. Okay.
That's what I meant.
Continuing on from our last discussion, because obviously we were just getting into healthcare, but also I think Cherri has a hot take that they want to...
Right. So we finished off the last episode with Ricky saying y'all, and I have decided that I hate when people with a New Zealand or Australian accents say y'all.
Explain. Why?
I just don't like how it sounds.
Okay. Is it because, like, to say y'all, it's kind of like an American accent thing?
It sounds right when someone with an American accent says it, because it's like y'all.
Like y'all.
Y'all.
You
But
all. Y'all.
But
Like
yeah.
ball. Like
Yeah,
y'all.
but then when we say it, y'all.
Yep. Yo. Like yo.
Y'all.
Yeah.
Yo.
Like,
Yo.
remember when they voted, like, New Zealand accents, like, the most sexy accents? I was like,
No,
shut
it was
up.
Australian, wasn't it?
Yeah. Shut
No,
up.
it
It's
was
not.
Kiwi.
I refuse.
And I've sort of been thinking about that a bit, and I feel like because I think Americans quite enjoy the Australian accent.
Yeah.
But
They like to mock it.
Yeah, because it's fun. We like to do accents of like UK and stuff.
Yeah.
But
I feel like
think
we
it's
don't do it to the degree they take it, though.
true. I think that's almost a recent thing though, just the mar jar jar jar. That whole
Or nar.
Nar.
because
The
I would
condensation.
say that the Kiwi accent is similar to the Australian one,
Oh, yeah.
except it's almost like if you added a little bit of the UK
A little
accent,
bit of spice.
or just like toned it down a wee bit, so
Yeah.
it's not so like up here.
Yeah, it's
But-
less nasally.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because I've always found, like, personally, the accents are sort of like the way you shape your mouth
Mhm.
when you speak. So, like, I find I square my jaw more when I do, like, an American accent
Yeah.
and, like, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, linguistically, I like linguistics. It's one of my things. Yeah, no, it's really, it is interesting because, yeah, Americans use the front of their mouths more than the back of their mouths. And that's why a lot of Americans really struggle with doing accents, but also learning other languages because when your, like, mouth is not used to making, like, the sounds that you need to do, like, for example, Spanish, which has, like, the r, like the long rolled R, a lot of people can't do that. And I know a lot of, like, Pākehā people in New Zealand really struggle with Te Reo Māori because they can't do the flicked R.
yeah.
Do you find that's, like, with North Islanders more than South Islanders?
Or
like, Southland?
I would say more with people down south because
Like, struggle more?
Yeah, I think they struggle a little
Really?
bit more. Yeah.
I have a hot take.
Oh, okay.
So you know how Southlanders, how they allegedly roll their R's?
Yeah.
I do.
That's not rolling. Rolling's
Yeah.
but it's like people like you roll your R's. It's like no, you over
It's your
enunciate.
emphasize.
Yeah.
You over enunciate it like.
Yeah.
I was going to say a word, but I was like, no.
Like the classic Southland saying,
Yeah.
purple work shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dirty purple
And
work
it's
shit.
Dirty
well,
purple
it's
work
like a
shirt.
relic from like Scottish colonization, right? Where like places like Scotland and Wales and Ireland
Yeah.
pronounce their R's, whereas like England doesn't so much.
Because it was majorly them that colonized Southland, especially. Fun fact: Invercargill was all swampland initially, and they drained it.
It still is.
No, it isn't.
I mean,
Metaphorically speaking.
yeah. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
It was a swampland. They drained it.
Yeah, like Queen's Park. If you went like completely just a bog.
Oh, bring it back.
Yeah,
Put it back.
We
Bring
need it.
bog back,
Yeah.
2025.
I missed the bog. I was like, gotta think about that for a moment.
Yes. Well, that was that hot take.
I've got one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All gender categories in sports should be abolished, and it should be based on height and weight.
Like
Actually-
weight classes in boxing.
Yeah, except just like universally for all sports.
Yeah. You know what? I totally agree with that. Because I was thinking about that recently when we were floating the idea to talk about the Olympics.
Yeah.
It just makes so much more sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
I was thinking, just don't categorize everything at all. Just have everyone in the same pit.
I mean,
but that makes sense as well.
Yeah, because I've sort of been thinking about this as well, how we can adjust it so that it's fair but also inclusive. And I think that's a really good way to do it because obviously, like, if you're in a certain height bracket, like that, there's a lot of room there. But it's like if you also add in the weight, then that puts a ceiling on like how heavy or muscular a person of that height can be. But it's like, it's. I mean, it'd be definitely interesting to trial out.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Hot take that is sort of related to this is because when you weigh something, you can't tell the difference between what is fat weight and muscle weight.
Yeah.
So my doctor recently told me that I'm overweight based on my BMI, which I disagree with.
The BMI
is racist.
It's a colonial system that's designed for straight white men.
And it's still used. And also because I'm trans and I've only been on hormones like only coming up a year.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you classify me as a woman or a man? Like, I haven't noticed any weight distribution personally, but I know some people do. So it's how do you classify me on that scale?
Well, yeah, because trans, I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but like trans bodies that are in the process of medically transitioning are medically different from cis bodies, like significantly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, not even necessarily like, oh, now I have like the hormone balance of a cis man, because I don't.
Yeah.
But it's like its own separate category. I will say that doesn't mean that I think that trans people should have a separate category in the Olympics. I think that, again, it should just be based on your weight and height class.
Exactly. The whole point is that everyone wants to compete against their peers and not just like, everyone can compete except for you guys. You go compete over there.
Yeah, and like you're not going to chuck a bunch of like long distance runners with like a shot put person.
No.
Right? You know, like, because like,
well, they're different sports, so they wouldn't be competing together.
This is true. Yeah. What if we just make everyone in the Olympics just run one single race?
Or
no, everyone has to do everything.
every person in the Olympics has to do their specific sport all at the same time in the same arena.
Oh God, like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
The ice skaters running on the track in their
Literally,
skates.
while there's javelins flying everywhere.
Oh my God.
It's just a what do you call a death race?
I know what you mean.
Rat race.
It's all just Wipeout.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
How could I forget?
I do, however, I think that they should have one like regular person in each sport, just to like, so we have context and we can.
So you have
see.
an average.
A PA, like a PA, just
some
behind,
guy.
like yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, that's Ralph. He runs with the sprinters.
He wanted to get into the stadium, but
Yeah.
he didn't have a ticket, so we were like, hey, we'll let you in under this one condition.
Yeah. Minus like obviously like contact sports, but like
Oh, yeah.
Why?
That's how you die. I remember when I was doing
Yeah.
Taekwondo and my teacher was like, you can punch someone in the face hard enough that they will just die. And I
Yeah,
was like,
isn't it pushing the cartilage in your nose,
and your nose
up
up into your brain.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you hit it at the right angle with enough force.
good
Yeah.
to know. The next time I punch someone in the nose, which
Yeah.
has never happened.
No,
Don't-
nor
you
will
uppercut
it.
their nose.
Yeah.
Instant kill.
I have a hot take.
Okay,
I was on TikTok yesterday. This video came up. So obviously, we all know J.K. Rowling, and
wish I didn't,
and
but
the interesting opinions that she has. There was a video of somebody basically showing a series of her like profile pictures from Twitter, and it's like her in her home. And then as the like profile pictures continue, there's more and more black mold, on the wall behind her.
Oh my gosh.
And people are just like have done research into like black mold poisoning and how it can affect like intense emotional like reactions to minor
Yeah, because that is
things.
the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's
Yes.
just like, and I was like looking at it, I'm like, oh, surely this isn't. And then I was seeing the photos and I was like, oh my God. It's like someone who has like a successful series just unaddressed black mold on the wall. It's like, what?
Yeah. I think
She makes enough money to detox her
Yeah.
home, I think.
I do think that at least some of it might just be wallpaper that's patterned a certain way, because a lot of people were like, oh, it looks like the what's it called, like the blue and white like Chinese like porcelain designs.
But depending on the environment, mold can grow.
That's true.
In a pattern.
And
Yeah.
it's specifically like behind her furniture and climbing up.
Yeah, which is why I'm more inclined to be like, I think it's the mold.
Yeah, like
Yeah, she's just like in a Resident Evil game now.
pretty much.
All mushroom.
I love that series.
That's so good.
Yeah, she's turning into Mushroom Queen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like 7 and 8 were the best in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
I haven't played any of them.
I'm like chronically bad at video games. I'm like easy mode, all of the like tips and stuff turned on. I can't do it otherwise.
Because I grew up playing video games. My dad was really into it, so I had access to it from a young age. So I'm like very coordinated on the keyboard and controller and everything. And I found, because I used to play everything on easy mode, but I found I've just like become more aware of how I move my hands as I've aged.
Yeah.
So like I'll go back and play a game that I struggled with so much as a kid, and it's like, why did I struggle?
Yeah.
Hot take. When people are like, oh, video games are bad for kids, you rot your brain. It's like, no, most of us are like super highly intelligent, have fantastic like hand-eye coordination because of those.
Yeah.
Also,
hot take.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt
Go
you.
on.
Do you want to finish that thought?
I was just gonna say that video games, how like their soundtracks and stuff and like storytelling, like most of the time when people get judged for playing games, it's usually like, Call of Duty or whatever.
First-person shooter.
Exactly.
Stuff.
It's like, which I'm not interested in. But like Final Fantasy, orchestral music, beautiful. Character design, also like my drag characters, pull from those types of video games, like quite a lot. And yeah, back to Cherri. What were you saying?
So everyone has this whole idea, well, I don't know if it's as popular anymore, but like a few years ago it was really like, Call of Duty is training all our children to be serial killers. And it's like, but just look at the news. Isn't that the same stuff?
Yeah, you
that's
know what's
hidden
more
on the
dangerous
TV?
to a kid than video games? A AK-47 assault
Guns.
rifle.
Yeah.
Like
It's like these kids are probably only surviving all the American school shootings because they know what to do from a video game.
that's what happened in the student protests recently. Like the
Yeah,
US,
the combat tactics.
They used combat tactics that they learned
the
in
university,
primary
right?
school because they were being trained to survive a shooting.
Yeah. So they just kicked all the police out, and it was so funny.
That's fantastic.
There's a video of someone bashing them with an empty water bottle,
Oh
and
my
you
God,
can
you
hear
just
the
donk,
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 donk
on
It's
the
so
helmet.
funny. It's amazing. It's so good.
My favorite thing
Yeah.
ever.
Hey, get out of here.
Bonk, bonk. It's like it wouldn't hurt them at all, but it would be a bit jarring.
Yeah. I think it's more embarrassing than anything
It'd be disarming.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Because my dad has been in hospital for like 30, 40 years. And he told me this story of this mate of his that was a bodyguard or like a bouncer or whatever. And he used to do this thing where he would clap his hands over someone's ears in a specific way that it would create the right noise to just overwhelm their brain and make them pass out instantly.
Yeah. When I was, my mom was my mom was one of those moms who was like, I'm going to teach my 5-year-old children like self-defense tactics in case they get kidnapped.
As you should.
And one of the ones that she did, she was like, yeah, if you cup your hands and pop them over someone's ears, it like completely disorients them and then you can run away. And I was
Isn't
like,
it so fascinating?
I had a thought the other day.
Okay.
So, a friend of mine, their flat has a new cat.
Is
And
the cat allowed?
she lives in America, so I don't know.
What are you, a cop?
Yeah. No,
I'm a narc.
no, the cop's standing in the corner next to the Hitman.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
No, so yeah, and this cat is, what do you call it, like a foster cat?
Yeah.
And he is not fixed. So he has,
Oh, no.
visually, there's a lot to look at sometimes.
I'm a cat person, so I know all about this.
Yeah, and then I was
That
thinking
stuff.
the other day, it's like, just, men having, a very sensitive, very easily kicked part of the body that immediately just like, fetal position. I'm like, is that not, evolution giving femmes and women like an immediate out, like an immediate defense?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because I think it's more of like a hind brain, like this feels good, so I'm going to keep breeding,
No. I fully agree with that, but I'm also just like in the event, like as like a, what do you call it?
I won't say
Survival
why, but I was
thing.
thinking about it recently.
Like a built-in panic button
Right.
to the, because obviously men typically can be more muscular, but it's
Yeah.
like, well, we need to like God up in the clouds being like, we need to install a little panic button just in case, they get a little unhinged. So
That's
it's just
super
like,
interesting, yeah.
yeah, square kick in the nuts, sorted.
I didn't think about it that way because I know that like women on average have higher pain tolerances because when you start testosterone as like a trans masc person, your pain tolerance goes way down. Like I remember walking into like a tattoo place after like starting hormones and being like, why is this so painful? What the hell?
I haven't had a tattoo yet, so I'm like excited to find out how much I'm going to regret a tattoo when I get it.
I don't think you will, because like I have / had a massive needle phobia from like a traumatic like numbing injection as a child. It was awful. It was so painful. But it's like, so I was afraid to get my first tattoo. But once I got the first one, I like the moment they started, I was just like, oh my God, that's all it is. Oh,
it feels like a cat like scratching you.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
Yeah.
But just like very slowly.
Yeah.
And deliberately.
I think I've still got a pretty decent pain tolerance, but I've also only been on testosterone for a year. So I don't know. But like, I don't know, I feel like my cramps are about the same. Like,
yeah, and again, I think like that's why like we on average have higher pain tolerances is like getting used to
except
like
it's not supposed to be painful.
No, that makes me so mad.
It's
like,
only supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Cramps
Also-
are not supposed to be like disablingly painful.
Yeah, I was ranting at Ricky the other day.
Oh, okay.
about it.
so why are they? Like, do you think it has something to do with potentially like all the preservatives in our food, the fact that all of our food is wrapped in plastic?
Well, if I had to, I mean, obligatory, not a professional, but if I had to put it down to something, it's mainly because most like women's health issues are health issues that are specific to only AFAB people are not researched or looked into at all.
Actually,
It's just the lack of scientific
so-
research on women's bodies and how they work.
And it's like the fact that women can't access meaningful like healthcare via their GPs. It's like, no, well, as you said, like, no, you're just overweight and what? Like, it's probably your
or
period
you're
something.
only in your 20s, like you can't have a hysterectomy even though you have like complex endometriosis and will never be able to like physically have children
wow.
safely.
But
Gift
what
to
if
get a
what if some
hysterectomy.
straight man wants to turn you into an incubator?
Yeah, what if-
wouldn't that be terrible for them? Like,
Also, it's like adoption exists.
Yeah,
Why
it's
would
like
you?
the whole like adopt from a shelter, not a breeder. It's the same. Like,
Yeah, no,
with,
you're
with
right,
pets,
you're
right,
it's
you're
the
right.
same idea.
yeah,
you're right.
No.
There are
it was-
children that need homes, and you're just making more.
And it's like if you're protesting outside of the clinics, it's like, why don't you just go adopt some kids?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to?
yeah.
Crazy.
Almost like having a child is a complex and very like financially draining responsibility that
Yeah.
you commit to for at least
It
18
is?
years.
You're,
Like,
wait,
whoa.
you're having trouble committing to adopting a child when,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, you want me to have 4 children? Well, Brenda, why don't you go and adopt 4 children?
Yeah.
then?
yeah.
No.
Problem
exact-
solved.
Truly.
Tell you what, I'll keep mine if you go get some.
Actually, I have a hot take about adoption, which is saying a lot coming from me who has not been adopted.
Yeah.
Warning.
No, because I was watching a really interesting series of videos on TikTok about this Asian woman, and she was adopted by white parents from an Asian country, and she was talking about how they basically purchased her, right? Like
Yeah.
they paid money to the orphanage. She was adopted. She never got to learn anything about like her original ethnic identity or like where she came from or who she was as a person. And so she was talking, and the guy who like duetted it was talking about how actually the overlap between human trafficking and international adoption is
Yeah.
a lot
Very
bigger
thin.
than people think it is. Like,
'Cause, like, human trafficking at its basic is
Yeah.
paying money to have a human.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The purchasing and selling of human
Yeah.
life.
The exchange of something
Yeah.
of value in return for a human.
yeah. Well, because I think a lot of people immediately assume like that they mean like sex trafficking, right? Which is like one form of human trafficking,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
the only one. And it's like, okay, well. It just got me thinking, and I was like, that's not even something I even considered because I'm like, for all intents and purposes, pretty white. So,
Yeah.
like, it's not, and like, you don't really see that same phenomenon happening with people adopting children from white countries. And I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, because it's like that it adds a whole nother level to like colonization.
It's giving like stolen generation vibes.
Yeah.
You know?
Isn't that what they call, like, oh no, it's the forgotten generation or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like
but-
before the boomers or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in Australia, they have like a very, very it's awful. They have a very complex history, and in New Zealand too. Actually, like there's a long history of like Pākehā people taking Maori children and other Indigenous children from their original families and putting them into white families to like assimilate them into white culture. So yeah, no, my hot take is that actually I think that there should be a lot more regulations around international adoption because it's really performative, especially when it's white people adopting a child of color. So,
but also that, like, yeah, I would say like because if this is a child that actually has no family and like and somebody adopts them, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But if it's like somebody who's been taken from their family and just trafficked away, then obviously that's highly tragic and that's a massive issue.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, if there were certain regulations in place that could sort of help with that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is also like partially about changing sort of the rhetoric around it as well, because I think that as international adoption exists currently, I feel like there's a lot of sort of like kind of white savior complex that plays into it a lot. Like, oh, I'm taking this poor impoverished child out of this terrible brown people country where they can't support themselves. Oh.
Haven't you noticed though, like in all the the ads you'll see on TV and it's like donate to this cause, there are starving children. It's never white children.
It's always yep.
And isn't that just pushing that sort of stigma?
Yeah.
I forget the word for it.
Yeah, but it's also, it creates this like defeatism kind of idea, right? Like, oh, why should I bother to like do this thing? Because these kids in this country are always going to be starving.
And also the ads are by corporations that retain most of the money that's donated anyway. Like it's an issue. It's
like
very...
you donate $1, it's like 10 cents of that is going to actually go to the charity.
It's a tax break for big businesses.
Exactly, and it's not until like I think it's after like the first 12 months that you've actually been donating that's when they actually start sending it to the individuals. Like it's like also anytime I'm at like the supermarket or any department store and it's just like, by the way, would you like to add X amount for this thing? I'm like, for this charity. And I'm like, well, first of all, no, because I'm not going to pay for your tax write-off as a corporation. But also it's like usually the person who is serving you they don't understand that that's what's happening.
No, exactly.
And it's just like, I remember being at like, oh my goodness. And also just like struggling with additional demands being put on your plate. Going to the supermarket for me is already super draining.
Yeah.
It's like when you get to the checkout and it's like, this is an EFTPOS only thing. Do you want to continue? Click. And then you start scanning. It's like, by the way, would you like to round up to this thing? Also, we've got milk run available now. Do you want to? It's like, also,
I do like the rounding up.
It's very satisfying.
I like that it's like it becomes an even number.
I mean, not
so
necessarily. Yeah, but it's like, what is that sound? Oh my god, there's an instrument happening in the other room.
Okay.
Anyway,
we shouldn't be able to hear that, should we?
No. But it's hey, free music. Loves it. So just like, there's something inside me that just gets so riled up whenever my supermarket trip that has already been difficult just suddenly gets extended because of 3 additional windows that pop up and that I have to exit out of. It's like, do you want to give us some money for a tax break? No. Do you want to give us some money? Do you want like a small voucher for this service that you've already used once and can't actually use the voucher?
No.
I don't. It's like,
what supermarket do you go to that you're getting all these pop-ups? Because the only pop-up I get is like
Countdown.
Woolworths.
Right, I don't go there.
It's just
they're too expensive.
I mean, they all are.
Yeah, that's true.
New Road is cheaper compared to Countdown. I think.
But it's also further away, and it's like, ugh. Actually, I've started. So Dunedin has a local organic veggie store called Taste of Nature. This is not sponsored.
It's the farmers market on Saturdays.
I know, but
you have to get up at like 8 a.m.
I can't.
It goes till like midday.
That's true.
But then everything's sold.
True.
Half the stuff's picked up. But anyway, so Taste of Nature, they do these like veggie boxes, and you just pay like a fee. I think it's like for the small box, it's like $35.
Okay.
And then you can pay
So it's like a flat rate.
Yeah. And then you can pay like a delivery fee as well. So what they will do is they'll just put all of the like seasonal vegetables that are like currently around into, and it's all organic, into this box, and they can deliver it to you. And then it just shows up, and it could be anything. And there's fruit in there, there's veggies, and I often get challenged to like how am I going to use this vegetable
Yeah.
that normally if I go to the supermarket, because they're so expensive, I would never.
Right.
Also,
Have
we
you
have
ever-
1 minute, by the way.
Yeah.
So.
Have you ever gotten like a fruit or vegetable that you like had to ask someone what it is?
Yes. In my last box, I got like a bag of these like leafy greens, and I was like,
What the
I
hell
think
is
it was
this?
kale. It looked like a
Yeah.
cross between kale and like silver beet, like the shape of a small silver beet, but like the texture of kale.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it very well could.
Sounds like
Be-
kale.
Yeah, I'm like, that sounds like kale to me, but okay.
Yeah, but kale.
I know because I took ag hort for one term.
Oh, I was going to say, I've got a middle-class white mom. This is how I know what kale is.
My mum works in a plant store.
We love plants. Okay, well, I think that just about sums us up.
Oh, fantastic. Look
Thank
at
you
us go.
so much. I know. Modi order. Give yourself a clap on the nails. All right, well, thank you for joining us, everybody, and we'll catch you
The next one.
in the next one. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye, divas. Bye.
And that's a wrap for today. Diversity Dispatch airs fortnightly on Thursdays at 5 p.m. So if you like today's episode, then be sure to join us in a couple of weeks for the next installment on ORFM.
And check out the podcast on oar.org.nz and your favourite podcast platforms. Tune in for more chill chats, fun facts, and upcoming local events on Diversity Dispatch.
This podcast was produced by ORFM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.